Wordsworth saw the world in a unique way. In this story, he used poetry to show the other mice a beautiful world of rainbows, butterflies, and castles in the clouds. And today we are talking to the author of Wordsworth the Poet, Frances Kakugawa. She is an award-winning author born and raised on the Big Island in Kapoho. She taught in Hawaii's public school systems and conducted language arts workshops in Micronesia and Hawaii. In 2002, Frances was featured in the Living Legacy Outstanding Women of the 20th Century book. She is a poet, educator, and an advocate for Alzheimer's disease education. Frances, thank you for joining us today. My first question to you is, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Born and raised in Kapoho, which is under lava right now. And that's where I began. Spoke pidgin English my whole life. And the first book I ever held in my hand was in first grade. And the first poem I heard was in first grade. And it was there that I decided that someday I want my name on a book too, because I was so impressed how people in books didn't speak as I did, in all pidgin. So that was where I think I built a dream and really held on to that dream.
That's wonderful. So why poetry? What did you find so powerful about poetry as you read them?
It helps you to process things so clearly. And there are so many decisions to be made. To answer that question, may I let some of my students answer that to their point?
Sure.
So I did a lecture for caregivers. For 20 years now, I've been facilitating a poetry writing support group for caregivers. So we write poetry to process all our daily lives as a caregiver for someone with Alzheimer's disease. And so Rod walked into my lecture, and he walked in and he told me, don't expect anything from me. I don't read poetry. I don't write poetry. I just accidentally saw your lecture notes outside. So I said, Rod, just sit. So at the end of the lecture, I usually have them write poetry for about 10 or 15 minutes. This is what he wrote. What do I see? Do you see what I feel? I feel more than you can ever see. It hurts to feel. I feel too much. Minutes become hours. Hours become days. Days become years. Years become a lifetime. So sad to see, so sad to feel. I wish to feel nothing. The next 3 months, he sent me a batch of poems. He sent me 30 poems he had written. So I laid them all out. And the first few poems were cursing God. Why me? The rest of the poems were life. Why me? Just getting his anger out. A few years before his mother died, this is what he wrote. In your hour of need, I have learned to become a man, a life to be a man who can feel the beauty and warmth of a mother's love. I will always feel your love, Mom. I wish to feel everything. And so through poetry, he was able to go from one end to the other. He could process it. All his feelings and the daily events. 2 Christmases ago, he sent me this letter. You saved me, and that matters to me. I would have carried much more grief if I didn't release the frustrations of being an angry son. How could a man writing poetry make him stronger and a better caregiver? Yet this happened to me. And I think this is what happens with poetry. I think Wordsworth, the book that you'll be sharing, so many children related to Wordsworth. This is from a 6th grader. There are times when all I want to do is cry. This is because I think I am alone. I know I still have friends, but I want something more. I want to be in love. Is that too much to ask? I think not. 6th grader.
It's amazing to hear these poems and how people have gone from one emotion to a different emotion, and how they're just describing their emotions so powerfully. And I think that's what poetry does. You're not confined by so many words, or a structure or an essay that people often, I find intimidating if I have to write an entire essay. But expressing your feelings through very selected words in a format that you choose, I think that's such a powerful process for people to express themselves.
It really causes you make so many decisions. How am I going to figure this out? Do I do it in an angry way? Do I use humor?
Mm.
So many decisions. And I think it forces us to really get in touch with our own humanity.
It's very thought out, thoughtful words that you pick that's so meaningful from you that they become a powerful message to the readers, I think. That's interesting.
It's wonderful because you exposing, our young people to literature, to the literary word. And we need to be careful because if we expose them to only pretty points, sunshine and rainbows, they begin to feel this is what poetry is. But I don't feel this. I am hurting. Poems I'm hearing are all about birds and rainbows and happy things. So we need to expose them to all different kinds of poetry to say, I too feel this way and I too can write like this too. So
That's a great point. During this time, coming out of the pandemic, we are learning more and more about children's mental health issues. And one of the ways we might address it is for children to write, express their feelings and express them through poetry. And that would be a valuable process, I think, for some children may find. So I, wanted to ask you also about your collaboration with Scott Goto and the illustrator. Wordsworth is such a wonderful character, and you can use. I have him right here with me, and it's so beautifully illustrated. Can you tell us a little bit about your collaboration with the illustrator and how you wanted to bring out Wordsworth?
actually, it was all in the hands of the publisher. I had in my mind all the images, but Scott did a wonderful job because I have now a series of full Wordsworth books, and
Yes.
this is coming out. He did the signature Wordsworth. Like in this book, he has his T-shirt. So in
Yes.
all the Wordsworth books, Wordsworth comes out with his T-shirt. There was a student's father here in California, who was so impressed with Wordsworth, he spent all night and made a costume.
That's wonderful. That's
So
just,
wonderful.
yeah, that's amazing.
He was even in the Monarch Festival parade for the Alzheimer's Association. And so this
Wow.
became his signature shirt. And so it was Scott who really established who he became.
That gentleman just inspired, I think, for us for more ideas. I also heard that Wordsworth will be the star of a musical presented by the University of Hawaii Hilo Performing Arts Center. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I am so grateful. They took Wordsworth a poet and the second book called Wordsworth Dances the Waltz, and it's about grandma losing her memory. And they collaborated, put these two books together, and made a musical. And the first was translated all into Hawaiian language on film, and that was presented to the Hawaiian Educational Festival. But during the week of November, on November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, the English version will be presented live at the University of Hawaii Hilo Theater. And so November 1st, 2nd, 3rd for students, a day performance. And 2 nights later for the public, and Sunday will be a matinee for the public.
So, you had mentioned that as a first grader, your goal was to be able to write a book and see your book be published. Did you ever imagine that your book being published would turn into a musical and a series of books, not just one, but a series of many books?
Never thought this would happen.
You know, Frances, you are very much an inspiration, not only through your poetry and through your children's books, but I think through your life as well. You give us much to look forward to in your literature and in your stories, and also in what you've accomplished as well. Is there anything more that you'd like to share?
Just wondering about why children really relate to Wordsworth.
Mm.
And I think it's because I think in Wordsworth and good children's literature, the adult voice is not there. So a child is surrounded by adult voice. So if we come to good children's literature, I feel let's get that adult voice out of the book. Let the story tell the story. In Wordsworth Dances the Waltz, grandma is losing her memory. Wordsworth does not lecture. There's no adult voice. In fact, he writes a poem and he says, now that grandma is losing her memory, she's still my grandma, isn't she? In other words, we leave the question for children because they are so capable of figuring things out for themselves.
Thank you. That's, that's an excellent point. These stories tell the story from the children's perspective and from a child's voice. And that's what children identify most with. So, that is a really excellent point that you make, that it's from the child's perspective. No one wants to hear a lecture on how we should behave. So,
open a book and it's there again. Adult voice is there again. Yes. No.
Yes. Thank you so much, Frances. I really enjoyed talking to you, and your stories are wonderful. I think they teach a lesson, they touch people's hearts, and I think children will love them for a long time.
Very much. I really appreciate you embracing Wordsworth. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.